So onward and upward with this stuff, guys. So we're at week 3. We're already flying. This is crazy. We're getting through this stuff pretty quickly. I hope you guys are able to kind of work with your groups and get in contact with one another, as well as just read through all the other material we got going on. So come on, okay. Um, yeah. So as we move rather quickly through all this material, um, and especially some of the major foundational concepts that we're kind of starting to build on that you see come up in Wright's book, and even though we haven't really used this as a basis for discussion a whole lot, but in engaging theology, some of the more base um, doctrines, that kind of stuff, the big D doctrines that we went through, we'll all start to kind of grab onto this, and it'll be like a little snowball effect, and it'll just kind of roll and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But I just wanted to say that I'm so encouraged and blown away again by some of the stuff y'all are discussing back and forth. With the discussion boards, please do your best to draw stuff in directly from the text, citations from the text, quotations from the text, and remember, cite your work, cite the text that we're using. Please, that'll be part of the grade as well. So I am looking for the Turabian style footnoting, Turabian style citations, as you sort of defend this case that you're trying to make for the prompting for the week. But it is awesome to see the engagement you guys have had back and forth, and some of you guys are going way overboard and responding to a ton of people, and fantastic. I love it. That's great. Some of you may have seen some of my responses. All I do pretty much is jump in and try and kickstart some sort of conversation with something. Um, Most of the time, this is in the form of just open-ended questions, reflective questions. Just I really want you guys to bite onto the material and get as much out as you can. Um, Other than that, it's all good. I love it. Stay curious, ask questions, and keep exploring this material. And really just sort of take time to meditate and think about some of these things that we're reading through. For this week, we're going to start getting into some of the meat of this material. So in Simply Christian, chapters 5 and 6, we start to get into Wright's, uh, yeah, kind of meatier um, breakdowns, right? So he wants us to understand what the Christian means when they use a term like God, because this is all great. We've gone through a very general conviction, very general concept of a conviction that leads us to recognize something ought to be the way, or ought to be different than the way that it is, right? Um, so now we've kind of circled around these general concepts that I think most all, if not all, humanity wrestles with um, on some level. I'm almost certain on some level all of this stuff affects everybody across cultures, across languages, across societies. But now we're getting to the very Christian standpoint of what do we mean when we say God? He uses this analogy of staring at the sun, and he writes, the difficulty is that speaking of God in anything like the Christian sense is like staring into the sun. It's dazzling. It's easier actually to look away from the sun itself and to enjoy the fact once it's well and truly risen, you can see everything else clearly. Now, it's funny because this statement is very akin to like a C.S. Lewis quote. And you guys may have come across this quote sometime, or maybe even read his book. It's from the Weight of Glory, I believe. But C.S. Lewis quotes pretty much the same sentiment in the book. It is the Weight of Glory. Sorry, I just kind of remember that. He wrote that I believe in Christianity as I believe in the sun, not because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. I think that's kind of how it goes. Um, so Wright's picking up on this very same analogy and almost kind of prescribing this viewpoint that it needs to be a lens through which we look at things. Um, if we, I guess, kind of going off that, right? Sit in a dark room and try and pick out details of what's around you. very difficult. But once that perspective changes and light comes in and that lens comes on, by which we can actually see distinctions between things, details of things, it becomes a lot easier to pick out what's what and see the reality of things around us. So Christianity's view of the triune God is this lens, right? Through which the rest of reality makes the most sense. So we're seeing how he had that breakdown of justice, relationship, spirituality, this echo of a voice that beauty that exists in all these things. Now he's saying, well, he's transitioning a little bit, that this echo of a voice is rooted in the tangible of a relationship, of knowing someone, knowing some standard by which we should see things that's rooted in an actual personal being. So when the Christian says the God of the universe, it's it's not simply a creator. It's not simply a transcendent sort of overlord type thing. It tends more towards this understanding of this is a personal being that wanted you, that wanted me, that wanted all of this, that took the time to speak it into being exactly how it is. Somehow it got corrupted, and we can go into detail with that. We kind of already did with Genesis 3 and kind of the fall of that. But in order to be restored, in order to be redeemed, there's something relational about this being that speaks into this world. It speaks to us within this world. That this now becomes the vehicle through which this redemptive process takes place. It's a relationship, right? Um, he gets really into some good stuff in chapter 5. In chapter 6, he talks about the journey of Israel, right? So the people that God chose to carry forward his redemptive mission, right? So it didn't start with God simply speaking willy nilly to everybody, right? Um, it specifically took place through a group of people by which they came to be set apart from the world around them. They came to start proclaiming things that the world had not known before, things that not understood before. And through these people, this God of the universe is known, made known. Um, so yeah, the journey of the people of Israel and how that is constantly in flux all the time. Um, it's one of those things where like uh, God calls them into a perfect relationship, but there's there's a very one-sidedness to this because the other side, the humanity side, really just wants it tends to want to do what it does. And the story of Israel is this continual um, cyclical downfall of certain aspects of this people group that God had called out. Just a second, guys. I need to finish this, okay? Yeah, sorry, my daughter's she's watching a show while I'm recording, so hopefully we can not get too loud and cross paths too much. There's also a video that Dr. Kugler did about N.T. Wright's content on chapters 5 and 6, and this is simply synthesizing these ideas and concepts from the reading from Wright's reading this week. um, Engaging theology, then we get to engaging theology. So chapter 5 explores God in the world, and so what does it mean for God to be working um, through all things in an active way, and at the same time being transcendent or above or outside of all those things. So pay close attention to the uniqueness and distinctions between three different words that kind of sound alike and they come up in the chapter, but they're spelled differently. So God is immanent, God is immanent, and God is immanent. So God is immanent, first and foremost, transcendence. So he's above. This is the EMINENC immanence. So if God is the one who created everything, God is inherently separate from the things that he created. So he's above them. He's outside of them. He's immanent over them, right? So immanence, the second one, E N C, I think. Um, sorry, my spelling's probably not the best. But that refers to spatial closeness. So um, this can of sparkling water is eminently close to me. Um, this computer that I'm talking on, I'm eminently close to this thing. So if God created the world and has an effectual relationship with it, then he is relationally close to it. He's not distance not distance enough where he can't speak into it. He can't affect change. Finally, immanence. IMMINENC is temporally close. So God makes statements all throughout the Bible regarding his nearness to affect change. So his ability to come about and judge creation in the here and now, bring about change in the here and now. He's spoken throughout time to reveal himself to the prophets and to the people of Israel and the like. And this immanence, this temporal closeness, doesn't mean um, now that he's uh, transcendent and above and outside. Um, I mean, yes, he is outside of our conception of time. But when we think about when we say God is something like God was and is and forever will be, we're saying something of the same effect. We're like, God just is here all the time, in time. He's imminently close in time to us. He can act here and now. He can be here to affect change at the moment. So the unique takeaway from this chapter is that the God of the Bible is all powerful and good. He's relationally close and he's always there. So chapter 5 has some big nuggets there. Chapter 6 is just it's about Jesus. So I'll sort of echo the engaging theology. Um, it was a quote from there from this chapter that says that we're looking at the person at the center of the Christian faith with Christology. So Christology is something that informs our entire Christian understanding. So the question of who Jesus is, not only as a figure of history, but as someone whom this whole belief system hangs on. These are quite important questions to address. It seems proportional in saying that what you believe about Jesus is how important the Christian faith is to you. Um, a lot of people will look at him simply as a historical figure and put him in a box, and this is who he is, and this is what he came to do, and da da da. A lot of people take the historical stuff not as seriously and really deify all of that, but in a strange way, without the tangible historical reality, without understanding that he is God and transcendent, he's immanent, immanent, we can't understand Jesus fully. It has to be both of those things. Um, so that's not to say that it's an easy thing to grasp by any means. Uh, as you'll read, there were constant and still are constant disagreements as to the natures of Christ. So his attributes and how to understand them is applied to him and him as a prophet through this Israelite people group. So our faith in God and salvation offered through Jesus hinges on this kind of understanding. So I think it's probably pretty poignant for us to look at these things and at least try and understand the best of our ability what's been revealed to us in the scriptures. So that also kind of comes down to a point of how we're supposed to live our lives in light of this, right? I'll say more about that later. Maybe not this video, but later on. Finally, we'll read some biblical stuff or the stuff from the Bible. So in the Bible, we'll read Exodus chapters 12 through 15. These chapters are read widely and known as the Exodus story itself, right? Where the Israelites are led by Moses. They make their way out of Egypt after a devastating 10th plague on Egypt, and they come to this Red Sea and they're trapped there. That's it, right? So this giant Red Sea is before them, a fast approaching Egyptian armies coming up behind them. They go into dismay and they're distraught, and they just essentially made it out of slavery, made it out of captivity, and now they're threatened with being brought back with this army fast approaching from the rear. Um, these few chapters actually absolutely pivotal in unlocking this relationship between God and His chosen people, and what He's trying to do through them in this world. So the story it's told at Passover still as part of the Jewish tradition, and this idea of kind of once being enslaved and brought into a promised place of rescue, not by our work, but by God's hand alone at work amidst chaotic situation. That's a huge theme, and that carries throughout the biblical story in many more ways. Assignments this week, there's just a discussion board reflecting on the reading from Simply Christian, asking you guys kind of what you think about and kind of reflect on chapter 5, this chapter about God. So what do you think about it? Is it encouraging to you, or is it challenging to you? Why or why not? Do you agree with Wright? Do you disagree with Wright? um, I think there's a portion of the chapter where it gets into the names of God and how it was used, and um, that can be a good kind of fodder for discussion too. So, like I said before, um, pull from your reading, support your statements. We don't want these assertions just to be personal claim or personal opinions. We want them to be supported claims by the work that we all are engaged in. So it's if you write something, a fellow student can read it and go and turn to that exact page and say, "Oh, okay, that's exactly what they meant." Um, that's the point of this citation kind of stuff. Also, there's an audio and video project, so um, it's not. It says it's said in lieu of a traditional discussion board, so we have to do the written discussion board and the audio thing. So we have to do both. um, so yeah, these are these are fun. You'll provide an audio or video posting, or both if you want to, in which you kind of discuss your favorite piece of Christian art, movie, music, architecture, painting, uh, anything like that. And there's some examples there, but it can be anything that speaks to you that's specifically of a Christian heritage, Christian source. There's 1,000 examples out there, modern and ancient. Um, And if you guys are in the Houston area, the Houston Museum of Modern Art is fantastic. Or not modern art, sorry. Well, yeah, modern art actually is fantastic. Um, there's a great, gosh, I forgot what it is now. It's down there in the museum district. It's fantastic, and it's got a bunch of old Byzantine art and goes through Renaissance period up to modern stuff too. Um, and a lot of that's absolutely stunning stuff to watch and be a part of, or to look at. Your video or audio segment, it should be about 5 minutes, 5 minutes long. So short, be careful about short. Long, you guys can go long, just to make sure it's not like 15 or 20 minutes. Um, but there's tons of recording options. If you guys know how to use YouTube, if you have a camera built in, it's easy. Just upload based on that stuff. Um, yeah, you can make it as simple or complex as you'd like. Then it just kind of upload it, post it, make sure it's public so we can all see it. Um, and yeah, just don't forget to also engage your fellow classmates, respond to them appropriately. But if you have any questions, also I'm here to answer those. But yeah, so you're going to want to address the main topic, the medium, the content and themes, the major emphasis, and the relevance for contemporary Christian faith. And then it was sort of any comments um, that you guys would like. So lastly, this week in your groups, you'll submit a draft of your presentation. It has to be at least 7 slides. You guys have a ton more time. Well, not a ton more time, I guess next week. But the draft doesn't have to be in its final form quite yet. This is kind of a rough thing. Make sure the formatting's probably the way it'll end up looking with the final. Um, Make sure you get any graphics or pictures in the place you want them. The text can change a little bit. That's fine. Um, so yeah, just make sure at least the skeleton's there, right? And you can build on that. This kind of provides a direction that your group is gonna be going. So be sure to use that group discussion board, collaborate with your group members, email back and forth, and make sure other members are participating. If they're not, I've told some other groups this. I'd throw this out again. Um, if you're not getting responses, feel free to send a group email and include me, um, and I can jump in if need be. Um, Yeah, so because I don't want any non-participants to affect the overall grade at all. Not saying that it will, but it has the potential to if it's a big enough chunk, right? Okay, so that's it. I'm looking forward to interacting with you guys throughout the week. So let me just pray and we'll get started, or we'll get going for the week. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for this group of students here in this session. Would you just help us draw near to you through this material, draw near to the things that you would have for us, Lord, and just see you, see the beauty and the magnificence and the wonder that's there in a relationship with you and what you've created in the world all around us, Lord. For those that are still in need, still lacking, would you meet them in that place today, Lord? Would you continue to work things for their good, restore things, and draw them near? Lord, give us a great week this week, um, and a great interaction back and forth as we go through this stuff with each other. So, you know, we pray, Jesus. Amen. All right, guys, I'm out. See you.